In an interview, you once said, "What's going on at S4 could be the most important event in history." What do you mean by that?
Well, that should be pretty obvious. Here there is right now physical proof, and not just physical proof, but actual crafts and technology from another world, and that's probably the most important event in history.
Have you maintained any contact with any colleagues at S4?
No, I never heard from anyone other than for a very brief time after I left. Dennis, who was my supervisor, did try and make contact with me at the meeting place was the Union Plaza Hotel, and I took a friend of mine, Gene Huff, down there, and another friend, a former colleague and scientist from Los Alamos, and we saw him, but I also did recognize some security personnel walking around there from S4, so whether or not it was a setup or what was going on or was trying to talk to me, we never found out, and we left. It just was a real strange situation. I never heard from him since.
Were you aware of any government plans to integrate these programs slowly into the public eye as a way of kind of getting people used to the idea?
I had heard that. I had heard that out there, but whether or not there was a specific program, I really don't know.
What specifically did you hear? Could you elaborate a little bit?
I don't exactly remember. I just remember it being brought up, that not that there was a set plan to do it, but just that the fact that it was either naturally or however, essentially working its way, into everyone's life. And I just don't, the conversation was short, and nothing was really stated, as a matter of fact.
Just a few more questions, Bob. Is there any immediate foreseeable advances in technology as a result of the work that you experienced or were involved in there? Can you see any practical uses that we may see as a clue that some breakthroughs were made?
Well, certainly there'll be small things that we will be able to duplicate. What they specifically are, I don't know. The big thing is whether or not we can duplicate them. If we can understand what a device is or how something operates or what its physical makeup is, that's great. But if we can't duplicate it, it's useless to us. So there's really two phases to the project going on there. It's understanding what we're looking at, and then once we understand it, is can we duplicate it with earthly materials and earthly technology? And unless we've got a handle on both of them, all that technology is useless to us. And if it turns out we can't do that, all we have is one single prized possession that we have to take care of, and that's it.
As we enter the 21st century, how are your opinions changed by your experience? We're reaching the year 2000, the end of a millennium. What does this all mean in relationship to that to you? A little speculation here on your part.
Well, if you want to word the question, how are my opinions changed? I would say considerably. Before I was at S4, I was more or less one of the guys that thought, all these government conspiracy and UFO buffs and things like that were complete lunatics. I even remember before I was involved there, a friend showed me a little newspaper clipping that said John Lear was giving a lecture who was touting that aliens from another world came to Earth and there's 70 different species. And I remember laughing on the phone that this guy had lost his mind. And I was also under the impression that, boy, the government's all for the people, and they, they're out here to protect us and all that. After the experiences I had there, everything is completely turned around. The government is doing everything but looking out for us. I mean, the only thing they're looking out is for themselves. Obviously, the ET craft do exist. Something had to build them, so there must be aliens. And since there are, and the craft are there must be some sort of factory and an entire civilization somewhere. And if in fact that is true, and it apparently is, then there must be others.